Welcome to our Football Insider preview show for Week 17, the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers with the playoff spot on the line for the Browns. I'm Doug Lesmerises, Scott Patsko, Ellis Williams, Terry Pluto. They'll all be along later in this show. At the end, our picks. What's going to happen on Sunday? But to start it off, I have 6 snappy questions for Dan Labbe and Mary Kay Cabot about the Browns. Here we go. Baker Mayfield threw for 119 yards against Pittsburgh last time out. He's averaging 303 passing yards in his last 5 games. Mary Kay, over or under 275 passing yards for Baker Sunday?
You know, I'm going to say under 275. I do think he's going to have a nice game. I think he's going to come out on fire. I think he's mad at himself for what happened against the New York Jets. And I think he's going to have a really good showing, but I don't see over 275, maybe just short of that. I do see a couple of touchdown passes, and I think they will attack this defense aggressively.
We all know the history between Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph. Myles, maybe not quite himself since the COVID-19 diagnosis, but working back into shape. Dan Labbe, does Myles Garrett get a strip sack on Sunday? Not just a sack, but a strip sack.
Myles Garrett absolutely gets a strip sack. Myles Garrett loves to play against the Steelers. He loves to go against Big Ben. He's not going to get that opportunity, but Myles Garrett is going to show up. I thought he looked more like the old Myles Garrett against the Jets, which is a good sign that maybe he's getting a little bit healthier. He's getting over that hump of the after effects of COVID-19. So Myles Garrett, look, he's going to want to make a statement. He's not going to want to make it about himself this week. He's not going to want to make it about Myles versus Mason Rudolph, but I think in the back of his mind, go get that strip sack on Mason Rudolph, do that little dance he does after those things, maybe get a touchdown out of it, not for him, maybe for somebody else, but yes, Myles Garrett absolutely gets a strip sack this week.
We know how much the Browns missed Jarvis Landry against the Jets. Mary Kay, give me one word to describe Jarvis Landry's value to the Browns, and then you can explain the word.
You know, I'm going to say dynamic, because Jarvis Landry can do so many different things. I mean, there are lots of ways to describe Jarvis Landry. You could talk about his excellent hands. You could talk about his reliability. You could talk about his the fact that he's never, ever misses a game unless COVID intervenes. So there are so many ways to describe him, but it can all be encapsulated in one word: dynamic.
Nick Chubb has rushed for 100 yards 5 times in 11 games this year, but he hasn't done it for a month. Dan Labbe, over or under 100 rushing yards for Chubb on Sunday?
This one I'm going to go under, because I think the Steelers defense is going to load up and make sure the Browns can't run the football on them. Now, Nick Chubb didn't play the last time these two teams met, but the Browns really struggled to run the football in that game. They also didn't have Wyatt Teller. They might have him back this week. So I'm going to say that Nick Chubb goes under 100 yards, but still has an effective game.
Everybody loves Kevin Stefanski, right? He's smart, he's calm, he's cool, he's a play caller. Should Kevin Stefanski be the NFL Coach of the Year, Dan?
It's hard to make a case for really anyone else. I mean, I know there's guys out there that you could probably say, well, he's done a really good job and this guy's done a really good job. But we're talking about the Cleveland Browns playing a football game to make it into the playoffs. We're talking 20 years of just failure over and over and over again. And Kevin Stefanski has come in and stabilized everything in a year that is not designed for first-year coaches to be successful. I think it's hard to make a case against Kevin Stefanski.
Last one. They've already won 10 games in a crazy year with the first-year head coach. They've fought through a lot of injuries. They are on the cusp of their first playoff appearance in 18 years. But if the Browns don't make the playoffs, is this season still a success, Mary Kay?
That is a really tough question, because it's going to be a big thud in the whole entire city of Cleveland if they go into this game and they don't make the playoffs. It's going to take everybody a long time to get over it. There will be a hangover for this season. And then as time goes on, I think people will realize what they accomplished, what they were able to do. But if they don't make the playoffs, I'm going to say no, it's not a success. Hey, Mary Kay. Do the Browns have the defense to shut down Pittsburgh in light of the announcement that Mason Rudolph is starting? From Ronnie Butcher in Newton Falls, Ohio. Well, hey, Ronnie, you know what? I really do think that the Browns will have the defense to get the job done in this game, especially with Mason Rudolph starting. Why is that? A major reason is because I think Ronnie Harrison will be back this game. Now, Andrew Zendejo might not be able to play because he was added to the COVID-19 reserve list, but for the most part, the Browns have a full complement of their defense for this game. Now, BJ Goodson won't be able to play because he's also on the COVID list, but Denzel Ward is back. Myles Garrett is getting healthy. I think they have what it takes. What they're going to need to do is get some takeaways to get the job done.
Joining us from DK Sports is Tom Reed. Of course, you also remember him from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. Tom, how are you?
Good, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Okay, 3 questions about the Steelers. Let's just start here. Any surprise at all that the Steelers made the decision to not go with Ben Roethlisberger and are going with Mason Rudolph?
No, not at all. There's really nothing. In years past, the second seed would give you a week off, a bye week. That's not the case this year. When you look around at what home field advantage has done in the NFL, it's really been bupkis. I mean, the teams are playing at about the league overall is playing at about a 500 clip without fans at home. So I don't think there's been a huge incentive for teams for the Steelers or the Bills. We'll see what the Bills decide to do, but I think the Steelers will be resting Roethlisberger along with other players.
Yeah, so how many more players? I mean, do you think it'll be a significant number? Could it be a situation where guys play a half and then are done?
With the NFL, even though you have the extended squad this year, you still have to play some of your starters. I could see, anywhere from 6 to 10 playing, either not playing or playing a bit and maybe taking the rest of the game off. You would have to think a guy like Cameron Haywood would be a guy considered not to play. Marquise Pouncey, maybe David DeCastro, who's missed time, and of course Joe Hayden is another one of the elder statesmen now for the Steelers. Those are some of the guys that come into mind. Maybe even a Stephon Tuitt. It's kind of been a weird year for the Steelers because they've had games bounced back and forth because of the COVID outbreaks with other teams. So I would expect them to rest at least a handful of guys.
So the big question here for the Steelers long-term, that second half against the Colts, is that what the Steelers are going to look like moving forward? Did that kind of fix everything that had plagued them in December? What happened in that second half?
They got back to driving the ball down the field, which had really been a problem. Well, it hadn't been necessarily a problem until like December 7th when they played the Ravens. And the Ravens just kind of looked at this and said, they're not running the ball. They're not throwing the ball deep. Let's everybody crowd the line of scrimmage. And for the next 3 or 4 weeks, that's what everybody did against them. And the intermediate and short passing game, which had been fairly effective for 9-10 weeks, all of a sudden dried up. And I think part of it was some confidence issues, maybe with Roethlisberger. There had been speculation whether he was injured, or maybe just, and the other part of it was just the offensive line has not been as good this year as it's been in the past, that they're getting a little long in the tooth there, a couple of those guys. And whether that one half is enough to get them going, I don't think you could say that. Again, they can't run the ball. And that is, when you get this late in the year and going into the playoffs, if you really hope that you can run the ball a little bit. And that has been a real struggle for them since maybe halfway through the season.
Hey, Mary Kay. I'm hearing so much chatter on sports radio from Browns fans wanting an end to Baker. It's truly amazing what one bad game can do, no matter how many good ones he's had. I'd take Baker as our quarterback over half of the league's starters. What is your take on this? That's from Shannon in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Well, Shannon, I think that Baker Mayfield has established himself as a very effective quarterback in Kevin Stefanski's play-action-oriented scheme this season. He's completely cut down on the interceptions. He's increased his touchdowns, and he's done a phenomenal job in terms of his accuracy. He's come up the learning curve very quickly. I think that the Browns should move forward with Baker Mayfield. I think he'll be better in this scheme next year. He has to do a few things like cut down on the fumbles, but for the most part, I think that he has shown them that he can take this team where it wants to go.
What is it about Football Insider? Why do you subscribe?
Honestly, Dan, it's your promos at the start of every podcast.
I knew it.
Why would you not want to get the knowledge first? Why would you not want those texts in your phone? I smile every time they come up. I like to use these little nuggets and conversations with my friends, act like I just know more than they do because, I do, because I got the information going directly into my phone.
Playoffs is going to happen this year. It's just really nice to listen to you guys. You guys are like my movie stars as a sports fan, and to get the information, the emails and the post-game pod, and stuff. It's been the best money I spent.
And I just think as Browns fan, we're lucky to have the coverage that you guys provide. I don't think the other teams in the league have this kind of coverage. I live in LA, and I can guarantee the Rams and the Chargers don't have this kind of coverage, nor do they have the fan base that would appreciate it.
I read cleveland.com every day for the sports. I read it more than the LA Times. And you keep me in touch with home.
And having the depth of information that you all provide handed over to you is invaluable. And at the price that's being charged, I can't even begin to tell you how much I've enjoyed it.
Here's a promo. If you want to sign up for Football Insider, go to cleveland.com/Browns and hit the blue banner at the top of the page to get info and get involved in stuff like this.
Hey y'all, what's going on? Ellis Williams here with a quick video breakdown on the Steelers zone blitz. To me, that's the chess match to watch as the Cleveland Browns try to make the playoffs for the first time in a win and get in situation versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin sends an extra defender at a 40% clip, second most in the league behind only the Baltimore Ravens. They like to play zone behind that. So how Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski combat the zone blitz, I think, will dictate who wins this game and if the Browns ultimately make the playoffs. So let's get right to the tape. On this first play, the Steelers are going to send a slot blitz, and usually the way to combat that is to throw someone behind it, throw and replace the blitz, but you're going to see Mika Fitzpatrick sit right there, and Browns fans are all too familiar with that, with Mika Fitzpatrick sitting in a robber situation. So let's let this tape run. The Colts are in a twins formation to the left, to the field, condensed to the boundary, and the Steelers with TJ Watt at the top of the screen really get after Philip Rivers here. Here comes the blitz. To me, that is what the Steelers do so well. They wait and delay that show. Here comes the drop. TJ Watt wins at the top of the screen. No chance. That's when the Steelers are at their most deadly. The late blitz coming off, you don't have time to see it, and then chaos follows. This next rep shows the Steelers really at their most dangerous. The Colts are playing with a backup right tackle and a backup left tackle. TJ Watt here is able to win, and the Steelers only send 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and they just win this rep. Philip Rivers sitting back there crushed. If the Browns are playing backup offensive linemen again and the Steelers can win with 4, it's going to be a long afternoon at First Energy Stadium for the Browns up front unless they're able to chip, send extra running backs, tight ends to those backup linemen's areas. But when the Steelers can win with 4, that's when they're at their most deadly. Before we get out of here, I want to share how the Browns can combat the zone blitz. The Steelers, again, send at a 40% clip, but the Colts made them pay on this one. Here they have Pascal at the top, who's going to run a deep post against Joe Hayden, and a tight end with a cross underneath, picking on Mika Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick takes the short cross to hit, then Philip Rivers hits Pascal behind him. Let's watch this play unroll. Right there, boom. Fitzpatrick takes the cross, leaving Joe Hayden one-on-one on the backside. Imagine that being Cordero Hodge or Donovan Peoples-Jones. Philip Rivers is able to stand in the pocket. The Colts do a great job scheming up the blitz, and the Steelers pay for it. That'll be the difference. The Steelers' zone defense versus the Browns protecting Baker Mayfield and allowing him time to carve up lesser defenders in the back end. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Hey, Mary Kay. Do you think the Garrett Rudolph storyline could actually distract this team from handling their business, knowing they need this win to get into the playoffs? From Alex in Lorain, Ohio. Alex, I don't think that the Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph storyline will distract this football team. Kevin Stefanski does a phenomenal job of keeping these guys focused. They put their blinders on, they get the job done. You just don't hear many things coming out of the locker room just in terms of distractions or what's going to happen 2 weeks down the road. It's a reason why they're 10-5 right now, and that they have a chance to make the playoffs on Sunday, and I think they will.
Scott Patsko, the Browns game turns in the end against the Jets because Baker Mayfield fumbles on a 4th-and-1 sneak. Was that the right call?
You know, the Browns have a bunch of Ivy League grads with economics degrees running the show over there. So they understand probabilities and recognize trends. And yes, that was the right call. Research has shown over and over QB sneaks are significantly more successful than other short yardage plays, whether it's 3rd down or 4th down. You know, we're talking 20% more successful than those plays according to PFF. You know, a 2018 study said any quarterback with at least 10 career sneak attempts had a 75% success rate or better. So sneaking works, but there's more to it in the case of the Browns than just that, because even though the Browns have one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL this season, they are not good when it comes to short yardage plays, handing the ball off to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And that's wild because until a few weeks ago, they were both on track to get over 1,000 yards this season. But this is all backed up by data. There's a metric called power success, which measures the success you have with 2 yards or fewer to go on 3rd and 4th down and goal to go situations. The Browns are ranked 31st in that, so 2nd to last. They're 25th in stuffed rate, which is how often you get stopped for no gain or tackled for a loss. So, and that's on all downs. So the Browns run game is very boom or bust in that respect. So that brings us back to Baker and the sneak. Prior to the Jets game, when the Browns faced 4th down and 2 or less to go, they were 5 of 12 for the entire season. That's 41.6%. They were 2 of 8 running the ball. And those 2 conversions came on Baker sneaks earlier in the season. He would have had a 3rd, but if you remember, he fumbled against the Titans and lost the ball, even though he had necessary yardage. So yeah, sneaking against the Jets on 4th-and-1 was the right call. And Baker had already converted 2 sneaks earlier in the game. The other good option was passing. The Browns have had more success doing that on 4th down than handing to Chubb and Hunt. You're talking about 6 of 9 in that situation. So like QB sneaks, that's still better than handing the ball to Chubb and Hunt in short yardage situations.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I don't know that anybody could really disagree with the call there. I think it was the right call, just wasn't executed. Obviously, Scott, they had to go forward on 4th down there. They're down a touchdown the final 2 minutes, 4th-and-1. But overall on 4th down, are the Browns going forward a lot this year? It seems like a lot of teams are.
They've gone for it 22 times, and that's tied for 10th most in the league. So yeah, the Browns have gone for it a lot. That's actually a league-wide trend. This season is going to set a record for most 4th down conversion attempts and successful conversions. And analytics folks have been talking about this for years, trying to get coaches to go for it on 4th down. And it's finally leaning that way. Instead of kicking that 35-yard field goal, go for it on 4th-and-1 because it increases your probability of winning. You know, instead of playing the field position game with pass-happy offenses, you know, go for it even in your own side of the field. I guess more than half of the plays in the NFL average at least 4 yards. So the odds are in your favor of going for it on 4th and short. So far this season, 14 teams have gone for it on 4th down at least 20 times, and 3 others have done it 19 times. Last year, only 12 teams topped 20 tries. The year before that, it was 9, then 7, then 3 in 2016. So this has really been building to where we are now. And the Browns' problem this year is that even though they've gone for it 22 times, it kind of stayed on that wave with the rest of the league. They've only converted 8 of those. And that's not all by design, those 22 attempts. Some of those are desperation, but still we're talking 36.4% on 4th downs for the Browns, and that's ranked 28th. So they go for it a lot, they're just not converting a lot. You know, short yardage issues with their running backs and becoming more consistent on 4th down overall. Those are things that maybe they work on in the offseason. But I think for now, the Browns seem to understand the value in quarterback sneaks, as well as just going for it on 4th down overall.
So decisions good, execution not so much.
Pretty much.
Hey, Mary Kay. Do you think Jarvis Landry will play with his hair on fire after the COVID debacle, even more so than usual? From Kevin in Loveland, Colorado. Well, hey, Kevin, I actually really do think that Jarvis Landry will play with his hair on fire even more so than usual. That was very upsetting to him to have to sit out that Jets game. He had played 110 straight games. He had never missed one in his entire career. And you could tell, I mean, he was live tweeting during the game. And for him to have to miss a game through basically no fault of his own, it really hit hard. So I think Jarvis will come back and do everything in his power to try to help this team clinch its first playoff spot in 17 years. I expect him to have a very big game.
What is it about Football Insider? Why do you subscribe?
Honestly, Dan, it's your promos at the start of every podcast.
I knew it.
Why would you not want to get the knowledge first? Why would you not want those texts in your phone? I smile every time they come up. I like to use these little nuggets and conversations with my friends, act like I just know more than they do because, I do, because I got the information going directly into my phone.
Playoffs is going to happen this year. It's just really nice to listen to you guys. You guys are like my movie stars as a sports fan, and to get the information, the emails and the post-game pod, and stuff. It's been the best money I spent.
And I just think as Browns fan, we're lucky to have the coverage that you guys provide. I don't think the other teams in the league have this kind of coverage. I live in LA, and I can guarantee the Rams and the Chargers don't have this kind of coverage, nor do they have the fan base that would appreciate it.
I read cleveland.com every day for the sports. I read it more than the LA Times. And you keep me in touch with home.
And having the depth of information that you all provide handed over to you is invaluable. And at the price that's being charged, I can't even begin to tell you how much I've enjoyed it.
Here's a promo. If you want to sign up for Football Insider, go to cleveland.com/Browns and hit the blue banner at the top of the page to get info and get involved in stuff like this. Terry, the Browns are playing for a playoff berth this week. I guess let's start here. If you would have told Browns fans you're going to be 10-5 playing the Pittsburgh Steelers for a chance to get into the playoffs, is anyone complaining about that?
Yeah, I've been getting emails from them, but I think those folks should not have went to the 6-10 season. This is exactly, this always happens to the Browns, something like this. What always happens to the Browns when it comes to playing the Steelers for the playoffs? 2002. So this hasn't happened in 18 years, and that was a playoff game where this is a big entry game for them. What a great way to end this season. Now, win or lose, I mean, these games, they always talk about wanting meaningful games in December. When it's not who's going to get fired, the coach, the GM, or both. Who's going to play quarterback next year? I mean, actually, all three things are in place. Now it's like, can you get past the Steelers in a big game?
We've seen this before, too, where the Browns have played the Steelers in the finale, and it's meant nothing, or you're trying to avoid 0-16. And the Steelers they're in celebration mode, playing Landry Jones at quarterback, just getting ready for their playoff run. And the Browns have an opportunity here to kind of send a message to Pittsburgh that this is different.
And also to prove that was just an asterisk game with all those guys out. And to prove that this is a team that hasn't lost 2 in a row all year, that would be a great way to end the season. Keep that intact, that, they're a bounce-back team. When I interviewed Andrew Berry at the start of the season, he outlined one of the problems he thought of Browns teams in the past is they were too emotional and that they also didn't deal with adversity well. And he thought, without saying it, that came from the top, the coaching staff, and that's part of the reasons, even keel Stefanski's in there. Well, this is a chance for him to get his game plan together, get the emotions together, get his quarterback back on track, go in, beat Pittsburgh, and go to the playoffs.
Last question here. Let's say the Browns lose this game. Let's say they miss the playoffs. How do we ultimately judge this season?
Pretty good. That's how I do. Whereas if they win this game and go to the playoffs, it's a tremendous season. And I know I've had some people say, well, if you don't win a championship, the season's a failure. That's like saying if I go out to eat tonight and I don't get the best meal in the country, well, that meal is just a failure. Give me a break.
Hey, Mary Kay. If the Browns lose to a weakened Steelers team after losing to a horrible Jets team and miss the playoffs, how does this impact the offseason? And will it take Kevin Stefanski out of the running for Coach of the Year? Drew from Boise, Idaho. Well, Drew, I don't think it changes the approach to the offseason that much. They'll still decide whether they want to do extensions for guys like Baker Mayfield, Denzel Ward, Nick Chubb, Wyatt Teller. So that will be a big offseason focus. They will also bolster their defense. This year it was all about the offense. This next offseason will be about the defense. As far as Kevin Stefanski being taken out of the running for Coach of the Year, I do think it kind of eliminates him from the competition if they cannot make the playoffs.
Okay, it's that time. We got to make our picks. Browns, Steelers. I got to tell you, I think I was going to pick this way anyway before the news came out that Mason Rudolph was starting, but I'm going to pick the Browns in this game. I think they're going to be the more desperate team. They have a team with more to lose in this football game. They're probably going to be angry after what happened against the Jets, angry at themselves, angry at the whole situation that they were forced to lose all of those wide receivers. I think Baker Mayfield made it very clear when he walked away from that press conference that he was not very happy. And we've seen no evidence that this team cannot bounce back from bad situations and tough losses. So I'm going to pick the Browns in this to finish this thing off, get to the playoffs. I don't know that it'll be a real high scoring game, but I think they'll win it probably in the range of about 24-16. Ellis?
So do you guys know who leads the NFL in passing attempts? That's Big Ben Roethlisberger. He has 20 more throws than Patrick Mahomes, Matt Ryan, and 30 more than Tom Brady and Justin Herbert from the Chargers. His 608 attempts average out to about 40 a game. And you know who probably shouldn't throw 40 passes a game? Mason Rudolph, the now Steelers starting quarterback. And that leaves me in a spot where I don't know what the Steelers offense is going to look like. They're last in the league in rush yards per game at just 84. And they're second to last in rushing attempts. For that reason, I think this is a Browns win, and they win pretty easily. I'm just not sure how a Steelers offense that only looked good for one half versus the Colts all of a sudden finds points with Mason Rudolph. So like you, Dan, I don't think either offense scores a lot, but I just don't think the Steelers get in the end zone much at all. So give me the Browns winning handily by probably 2 scores by 13 or 14 points.
So it feels like 10 years ago that the Browns and the Steelers played, right? So 38-7 was that game. So I'm going to go 38-7 the other way. No, I'm not going to do 38-7. But it's the Browns have gone through so many evolutions since then. You think about that game, the Minkah Fitzpatrick pick. Baker Mayfield ends that game on the bench. Then the next week they play Cincinnati. Odell Beckham gets hurt. Baker rallies. They have this amazing win. Then they play 3 games in crazy weather. Then they play 4 kind of normal games. And then they play last week with no receivers. So I'm looking at those 4 normal games that they've played since that Pittsburgh loss. In that time, the Browns averaged 33 points per game. So this is a good Steelers defense, right? We know that they have some good defensive players. I'm going to give the Browns 30, slightly under that 33. I think this is a competent offense that gets back on track, but how could this be easy? It's the Browns and the Steelers for a playoff spot. I do not think this is going to be one of those 3-score walks in the park. I think this is going to be hold on to your seats. Mason Rudolph has the ball in the final couple minutes trying to tie the game, but the Browns win 30-23.
Could there be any more drama for the Browns to end their season like this with a chance to clinch their first playoff spot in 18 years against the Pittsburgh Steelers? Mason Rudolph, Myles Garrett, it has a little bit of everything. The network should be sad that they didn't flex this one out because this one is going to be, I think, really, really good theater. Nick Chubb will play in this game. He didn't play the last time. Wyatt Teller might play in this game. He didn't play in the last one. We've got an angry Baker. Mad Baker is usually a good Baker. You've got Myles Garrett going up against Mason Rudolph with something to prove. You've got Mason with something to prove against the world after what happened last year. So there's so many things to watch in this game. But with Mason at the helm, I think the Browns will win easily. I think the only way that they're going to get very many points, the Steelers, is if their defense scores some points. And that could happen. We're not even sure who's going to play for them yet or who's not going to play. But I'm going with the Browns 27-17, and they snap that playoff drought.